Welcome to the Veterans in Politics Talk Show. Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.
Welcome to the joint veterans endorsement interviews for the nonpartisan, non-judicial candidates. At the outset, we would like to formally recognize and thank our sponsoring organizations for making today's event possible. Mary Perry, Clark County District Court Family Division, Department P, Veterans in Politics International, and Nevada Veterans Association. We'd also extend our sincere appreciation to our additional sponsors and community partners whose support helps ensure a professional, fair, and transparent endorsement process. We're honored to have all of you with us today. Before we begin the interviews, let's review the rules and format. First, each panel member will introduce themselves by stating their names and organizations that they represent. Next, each candidate will introduce themselves. Please include the office you're running for and explain why you are seeking that position. We will then proceed with the interview portion. Please remember that this is an interview, not a debate. Since you're the only candidate, you have openly address the panel. In the interest of fairness, you'll be given a time limit, and the time limit will be strictly enforced. So you will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer a question. Once you're down to 30 seconds, I will give you a sign, and then when the time is over, at your minute and a half, I will give you a cease sign. You can finish your sentence at that point, and then we'll ask you to please close it at that point. So after we have completed the interview session, you'll be given a minute to do a closing remark. So with that, I will start with our first panelist. Please introduce yourself, and we'll just go down the line.
Good morning, Mr. Barron. My name is Stephen Fortune, and I was reading your profile there online, and I see that you're a teacher here for 30 plus years in the state, and it's to be commended here as well. And you're also
Mr. Fortune.
Yes.
This is the introduction. Just say who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Stephen Fortune. I'm here with Veterans in Politics.
Tony Dane with Veterans in Politics.
Tim Ross with the Nevada Veterans Association.
George Carson, Veterans in Politics International.
Martin Walker, Nevada Veterans Association. Please proceed, Mr. Barron. And an opening statement for yourself.
Yeah, my name is Issac Barron. I'm actually a serving council member on the city of North Vegas. I will be turned out at the end of the year, but I'm also at a point. Definitely. Yeah, I just should have brought it up. Hey, I thought he just wanted a fist bump. I'm a sitting council member of the city of North Vegas, but I'm also an appointed trustee to the Clark County School District Board of Trustees, representing the city of North Vegas. And then I serve on a number of other boards, and I'm retired as a teacher, going back here to May of 2024, so almost going on to 2 years. And the reason why I'm running is because if you go anywhere on the east side of our valley, you'll see that there are many underserved communities. The top three issues are jobs, education, and public safety. And I think I could do a much better job addressing those for the district and for the state than the incumbent.
Thank you. We will now start with the interview session. Mr. Fortune.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I apologize on that. But yes, I see you're here for 30 plus years within the school district here. And you're here for an advocate here for tackling infrastructure affordability and school choice. But when I do bring up the numbers here, I'd like the last time I was here in Nevada, I know it was before Governor Lombardo was just about into office, not in office yet, but he's taken over now, and there has been an increase now. The education levels have increased with Governor Lombardo. However, there's work to do. You know, the recent 2026 data ranks Nevada. Still, we're sitting there in that 40, around that mid 40 range, 45th, 46 range here overall in education. You know, specific rankings placing public schools, 48th overall in students' success, 45th My daughter does online schooling and everything here within the state, and that's been a terrific program for her, and she's thrived in that aspect as well. But confidence in the school system. The key challenges include, our teacher shortages, here within the state, low pupil funding, overcrowded classrooms, like it's 21 pupils to teachers, the ratio, and also to getting back to teaching. We want to get back to teaching our fundamentals, our basic fundamentals here, math, English, science here with the schools. The college degree attainment fair 73% of the fourth graders do not meet the reading standards. 79% of eighth graders do not meet the math standards. What can we do to keep moving forward? I know we have progress. We're up, we're moving. But what can we do in order to keep moving up on that standard here and bringing our schools into the better fold here?
Although things aren't perfect right now, if you like the direction that the Clark County School District is heading in, well, hey, it just so happens it coincides when I got appointed and I started serving. In doing so, when I got on the school board, was able to actually help get rid of someone who, unfortunately, was not actually living even here in the city or in the state. And then I was able to work to make sure that we were able to hire someone who actually knew what they were doing, a lifelong educator, and with the backing of our governor, we appointed, of course, our current administration. So I think we're on the right path there, managed to overcome a supposed financial crisis. But the big thing is this. Look, we cannot, it's really hard to legislate changes to families. But what we can do, it helps support them a little bit better. One thing that I've seen with my own eyes is the importance of pre-K education. Just a few weeks ago, I was actually reading to a kindergarten classroom, and I noticed there were these 4 little kids that were, by and far, they were asking questions. I was reading a story called the pre-K education is the best way to go here. I guess I'm getting a warning here. If we address and we change the funding formula just a little bit right here, we can definitely afford to do free pre-K in all the public schools across the state, especially on my side of town, that will actually help out working families and also free up people to get back to work. So one of my answers right now is, 2 answers: fix our funding formula and pre-K for children.
Thank you.
Can you list the responsibilities of the Nevada legislature?
Yeah, it's very similar to almost any other body. The big thing is to oversee the policies, the budget, and of course the ordinances that take into effect across the state of Nevada. And of course, the big thing is the biggest one is, of course, the power of the purse and making sure that every state agency is funded and is actually is fully funded to what they need to actually provide the service that they're supposed to be providing, and have an oversight. It's very similar, I guess you could say, to what the congressional oversight is. The only difference is, of course, the state legislature has a little bit more of a far-reaching effect, because things that they do usually affect or can be directed against or can address any government in the state of Nevada.
I have a question about bipartisan cooperation. Mm-hmm. The Nevada legislature is known for its short, intense 120-day sessions. Can you name one specific policy where you're willing to break with your party's leadership to reach a compromise that benefits your district?
Well, I think the governor, he made it a high priority to get the what people call the film bill. I forget which AB it is, right? There's so many ABs and SBs, but and so that was something, of course, that's headed by a Republican governor. But that one was a winner, I think, especially for the people on my side of town who desperately need these jobs. And right now, if you go to a place like the Broadacre swap meet, you could see it's only about a 65 or 70% instead of being full. Why? Because a lot of people who would actually be shopping there they're now they're now out of work, and with inflation kind of going up, the need for jobs is even more. So I would have been part of the crew that would have been spearheading this legislation, maybe tweak it a little bit to make sure it has enough protections. But it was good legislation that had good metrics to protect the taxpayer, and I think those are the kind of things that I'm all about.
Thank you.
All right, welcome, Councilman. Years ago here in Nevada, they brought up and passed the law to make marijuana something that was able to be used here. Mm-hmm. At the time they were bringing that up, they were talking about using it for school districts, and they were also hinting towards using it towards veterans. Mm-hmm. Well, it did actually go to the schools, but only goes as a replacement fund, not as a direct fund. So my question to you would be, would you be able to help stop the sweeping of the marijuana taxes into the general fund and legally earmark a percentage of that specifically for veteran funding and maybe mental health?
Given the crisis, in mental health, and especially the one that's affecting our veterans, right? Suicide less than every 2 hours, and we have a veteran suicide. So that's a crisis. We know it hits us here, I know because, of course, we have a Veterans Resource Center, and although we do everything we can to help our veterans get the resources they need, the one thing that is told to me is we could definitely use a lot more help with mental health services. So what I'd like to do is to re-examine where this money that's supposed to be for schools, and of course, I think part of this is go ahead and see if we can repurpose a bit of that money specifically for veterans healthcare, and specific the mental health and the emotional support. Again, time and time you see just these stories, and again, our entire community is at risk. But in particular, there are certain sectors, and our veterans are the ones who are being left behind, and I'd like to address that.
Follow up, I'm loud, right? Yeah, so like I'm saying, though, I just wondering if there's a way that we can try to get that to move. I'm not talking about taking money from the children in the schools, but we know that they're only taking it and refund, that they're only depleting whatever's depleted, they're filling that up with. So there's some sitting in the background. If we're not going to take all that money at that point in time and put it into schools, would you be looking at something maybe like something that you could use to try to take that little bit of extra that's not being used at that point and move it over towards that? That's what you're saying?
I most definitely would support something like that, right? We're going to have some challenges going forward here with the state. We know that state coffers, the outlook does not look good because, of course, the reduced tourism here. So we're going to have to be very creative. But that's actually it's not a bad idea to put that money to work, because what it does is if you put resources into mental health, in particular for people who are really, really challenged, you're actually reducing the load in the long run. And, that's one thing I've learned in the city of North Vegas. The more that you invest in different people infrastructures, the less you pay in the long run.
Right. Under current regulations, schools are generally directed to respect the child's or student's preferred names and pronouns, and keep that information away from the parents. And also notifying the parents is treated as a secondary step, often dependent on whether the student feels or states that they don't feel safe at home. Many parents feel that this creates a wall of secrecy between them and their child's education. If elected to the Senate, would you support legislation where parents are notified by default unless there is a documented safety risk to the child?
Yeah, I think it definitely has to be revamped. Look, I find myself very curiously here with the 3-year-old. The reason why, I'm a little bit more sensitive to the issues of pre-K education. I got a 37-year-old son, a 34-year-old daughter, and now a 3-year-old. If I had a child who was of age, I would be extremely upset if I found out there was something happening to my own kid that I didn't know about, whether it be something health or safety related. On the other hand, there is a need to balance out, the safety of children, because there are some kids, of course, who do live in a dangerous situation. But I do think that we have to look at this again and get more input, I think, from parent groups and from mental health professionals and other people who are actually in the day-to-day know of this kind of. So if it takes a little bit of a tweaking of what we have, I would definitely be in favor of discussing those.
Let me follow up to that. So, where is that balance between referring those situations to maybe child protective services versus leaving that and the authority of the school?
Yeah, I think we already have some, we already have case law, and we do have, of course, state laws that address these things. But it's really difficult to go ahead and pass a law now and actually get it right, kind of like the first time. Oftentimes, you need some course corrections. You need some things to fine tune. There are going to be some examples, like for instance, if God forbid you had a child that winds up pregnant from a family member, right? Well, if you start, willy-nilly advising the family, right, you might have just gone ahead and imperiled that child. And I know this one because it actually happened to me when I had to actually make a report to CPS, because it turns out that there was a family member who had been physically and then impregnated one of my students. And so I think we have to be extremely careful in how we address these situations. And turned out that family member went on a lam after I made my report, right? So again, it's a thing we have to be extremely careful balancing these things out. But I do think that we still need to examine this and approach this with a little bit more. We need more input to make sure that the rights of the parents are certainly respected, balanced against the right for the child, for the person who might be at risk.
All right. Yes, I want to touch here on with basically our Second Amendment here and rights to bear arms. Like state senators and state assembly leaders, hold significant power to affect gun rights within Nevada and regulate purchase, sale, possession, and carry of firearms. There's been a steady erosion of the Second Amendment right to bear arms, just not with Nevada, but other states as well. Democrat-led states also restrict legislation and also introduce and pass measures such as Nevada, California, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut. Now let's take an example. Connecticut passed here the MB 5043 Glock restriction, where they cannot try not to sell, restricting the sale of Glocks. They call Connecticut the Constitution state, which is sort of a laugh out loud, because all the restricted measures. And here in Nevada, Bill 156 was vetoed by Governor Lombardo. You have the red flag laws and universal background checks, no constitutional carry. Republican-led states act to strengthen gun rights, such as passing constitutional carry, Second Amendment sanctuaries, and which is actually increasing now to 29 states. What is your opinion here on the Second Amendment, and where do you fall in line here with that?
How often do you ever hear an elected official intervene to stop a murder at gunpoint? That was me. Look, back on October 1st, it's really weird, the same date, right? My girlfriend and I were driving through. She saw a fight at a bus stop. I'm the RTC vice chair. So I think my teacher thing kind of clicked in. And I was going to go ahead and just tell these guys, hey, stop fighting. I'm calling the police. They're going to be on the way. Before you knew it, I was actually witnessing a murder in progress. Okay, one guy had a blade, and he was killing the other person. I believe, hey, I'm a hunter, right? Although the Second Amendment ain't about duck hunting, I'm a hunter, right? And I believe in the lawful harvesting of animals, right? I do it for my own personal reasons, right? But I carry constitutionally every day. I carry concealed. I don't like telling a lot of people that, because then, it kind of opens you up to, if someone wants a gun, they know where to get it, right? But I'll go out and say this. I intervened in that, and there's no way I could have taken that guy on, because he was over 6 foot, well over 300 pounds, and I believe in the sanctity of life. So at gunpoint, I got him to stop. Then I held him at gunpoint on the floor until the police came to my rescue within 3 minutes. I'll tell you what, it was a long 3 minutes, but I am happy that all three of us got out of there alive. It turns out the victim survived his wounds. The guy's awaiting trial. I think it's going this month. I got away with my family, and the police agency, they actually gave me a life-saving award, which I don't like to trumpet very much, but that's documented as well.
Can I ask a follow-up question to his question? Oh, you said you believe in the sanctity of life. Does that mean you're pro-life?
I am unabashedly pro-choice, right? But I think that for the most part, I think the government should be out of the doctor's office. I think the government should be out of our bedrooms. So I'm pro a lot of stuff. I'm for some of these things, I'm kind of libertarian in this, and that I believe that the government should be staying out of our bedrooms. So it should be letting people make their choices with their doctors, right, as they see fit. And so when I say the sanctity of life, when I stopped the other day to help a little dog that was stuck in the middle of the road, and it turns out it was in medical, I believe even in a little life like that. And most definitely, I believe in doing everything I can to preserve and to improve the quality of lives for humans.
Okay. When I asked you your legislative responsibilities, one of the things you didn't mention is the investigative powers. Mm-hmm. Can you describe the investigative powers of the legislature?
Well, one of the biggest things one of the biggest ways to investigate is, you do have a lot of budgets that you can actually call people into your hearings. Probably the best way to actually investigate the way that government runs is to call people in to these and hold people accountable to the budget that they're supposed to be overseeing. What I found, not just at the city of North Las Vegas, but also at the school district, is there's a lot of ways to manage, I think, policy by making sure that people hold true to what they're supposed to be doing with the budgets, right? So yeah, you can call people into hearings. Sometimes, it's working. The hearing process, I think, is very effective when, for instance, there was a measure that was passed, right? There was testimony that actually intimated from our police professionals that there was a certain amount of human trafficking involved with that bill, right? And the police were able to come in and testify and educate the legislators to that. So I think the investigation doesn't just begin with these special hearings, but it also actually goes along with the actual legislative process in the way you determine a bill. You can actually investigate before the bill even gets started, because we're supposed to be educated about the full issues. We're supposed to be educated as policymakers what every facet is to make an informed decision.
Okay, at North Las Vegas, you currently represent city North Las Vegas in that area. Mm-hmm. There's an issue. They're expanding North Las Vegas Airport, right? Mm-hmm. And I personally know a lot of veterans there that own airplane hangars that are feeling a little threatened that they might lose their right to keep their airplane hangars there. Mm-hmm. And that's a big issue for them. It's a lot of financial crisis for some of them because they can't buy and sell hangars at this time because of the uncertainty of the hangar leases. What do you think about that? Should these folks be able to continue leasing these areas in North Las Vegas as they have in the past?
I actually know one of my business leaders, actually, he explained to me the situation, and he has, of course, a lease there. Now, I think he should be allowed. It's actually under the purview of Clark County, right? Yeah. So I know we as a city, I guess all we can do is like advise, issue opinions, right? But ultimately, it'll be up to Clark County. I'm the guy who always tries to stick up for the average person, the little man. I understand that Clark County wants to make some progress, so to speak, when it comes to some of these hangars. But you have to kind of the reason why it exists is because you have a lot of people who, for a long time, have been paying, for space at those hangars. And I always feel that there's got to be some way that you meet someone, in the middle. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game, but I'm hoping that our friends at Clark County, they make the decision to help out the long-term small business owners who, quite frankly, they're not going to be able to afford, once they get rid of some of these hangars, they're not going to be able to afford, these, more, how should I say, luxurious type of appointments. They're going to put them out of business.
One follow-up question. Are you willing to speak to your county representatives about this issue and let them know that there are a lot of people are affected and they do need this representation to continue the hangars out there? That affects a lot of veterans also.
I'm really happy that, the person that although I am friendly to several of the commissioners, the friendliest one to North Las Vegas is Marilyn Kirkpatrick. who she's always been someone that we can go to, and she understands our issues. And so, she's a very reasonable person who I think she's gained a wide swath of support. So, I'd be very happy to make sure that we go through her.
Thank you.
All right. Here in Las Vegas, or Nevada, I should say, we're getting a lot of influx from California because of the high prices, but we have very few professionals here. We have so I just want to know, how would you address the shortage of the medical professionals and also try to keep the private insurance down? Everything is just skyrocketing for everybody.
Well, we're going to be facing a real issue at the state because, of course, programs like Medicaid and Medicare they've been cut at the federal level. Okay, so we're going to have to do a lot of things. I think here as a state, we cannot expect the federal government to come in and ride to our rescue because they've already withdrawn the cavalry, so to speak, right? So I think we're going to have to address this. And again, there's probably going to have to be some changes, I think, what we do to fund these things. But the city of North Las Vegas, what we did is we tried to make a business-friendly atmosphere to draw people in, and it's worked. In the downtown, just recently, we had Agora, which is one of our big developers who come in. They've helped us. The city of North Las Vegas acquired a piece of property that used to be a school, and Agora they bought it, and we put a series of measures, like for instance, like expedited plans checking. We did lots of things to make it a lot more amenable to actually construct and finance these things. And now the city of North Las Vegas, right, in our downtown is going to have its first medical imaging for women because, of course, it's a big deal. Breast cancer is still the number one killer of women. But now, where there was no access, now we have access. And we're going to have some primary care access with Alonzo Medical, who's coming in also to that site. What I'd like to see is we do the same thing here on the east side and maybe actually try to get some creative funding to actually attract more people because, again, although the city of North Las Vegas only has about just under 18% of the population, we only have just about 5.5% of the actual medical providers available to the whole valley.
Again? So, that's what I'm saying. So how are we going to, in the future, keep this up? So you're saying this plan that you have should be able to be held into the future to I guess, contain and get enough medical professionals for all the people we're going to have coming in, plus what's already here?
Yeah, I mean, already also in the state of North Vegas, in the 150 acres that we have across from the Veterans Center, we also have some new plans. We've had to start and stop again because people weren't performing, but we now have a new plan that'll probably be unveiled by the end of the year, in which we'll actually have a new hospital to be available to everybody, right? That'll also bolster what the veterans are doing across the street from the site. So I think what's working in North Las Vegas can be transplanted. And I think to get the buy-in from the rest of the state, because of course, if you're living in rural White Pine County, right, you have less access there to medical. So I think there's some things that we can do to the task code that actually generate some funds that will help attract professionals, not just to the east side of our valley, but also to these rurals. Again, we can't do it without their support. But a lot of the state's issues there in the rurals are also our issue, even here in the east side of Las Vegas.
So one of the hottest topics today in it is immigration policy. Most want an easier process for those who have come here via legally documented processes, and they support humane law enforcement operation for those who don't. Most veterans, rule of law, following the law it's a core tenet of our service. It's very important to us. What are your thoughts on supporting legislation for any sanctuary policies that may prevent Nevada law enforcement from cooperating with federal authorities when an undocumented individual is involved in a crime?
Well, in the city of Las Vegas, we always support following the law. Okay, so although I can't recall there being any sanctuary city anywhere in the state of Nevada. In my city, the one thing that we've always done is we've made sure that the law is followed. Look, no one's actually arguing or are saying that we should not enforce laws against the people who are dangerous. I always ask for and make our police accountable because these things do come up. So recently, I did get some information the last quarter of 2025, and we see the people who have been referred to ICE. And many of them who are on that list were people who had outstanding warrants, okay, for various drug issues, right? And there were people who also were picked up on DUI, okay? So I think that we let the police enforce the existing laws that we have, and if we're getting bad actors off the street, we're all for that. On the other hand, we have to also balance out, willy-nilly, I'm sorry, there's ICE enforcement where federal officials are going up to people based on the color of their skin and asking them if they have, if they're a U.S. If they have their papers. I know exactly how I'm going to react if I have some federal official who tries to interrupt me, and it may not be the answer that they want, but I know how I'm going to go ahead and protect myself and my family. And I think we should stand up, for other people who are having their rights that quite frankly, I have to thank you all, if you're veterans, that you fought for these rights, right, that are enshrined in the Constitution. I think we have to definitely follow up and defend those rights.
So this concludes the interview portion of our session. We'll give you 1 minute to do some closing remarks.
Yeah, gentlemen, look, I again, when I say thank you for your service, it's not just some words from me. I understand. I just a couple of years ago, I buried my brother, who of course was a former Ranger, an Op 4 guy, and then he spent a lot of time there in the reserves. He's buried out at the Veterans Cemetery out there in Boulder City. But he's our second family member after our grandpa, okay, or my grandpa, I should say. I have a brother who I talked to. He was lifelong. He's a lifer there in the Big Red One. He lives on the other side of the county, so other side of the country. I understand what it means. Although I myself, I was kept out. I have kind of a medical condition. If you see me walk in here, but we respect what our veterans do. And I think in the city of Las Vegas, we're the first city that actually ever had a Veterans Resource Center, because we understand the importance, and there's a lot of details that affect the lives of our veterans. I've always been someone to support that, and I also I'm looking for improving the lives of people in our community. The guy that I'm running against voted against jobs. He voted against our education, and well, he has issues. He has his own issues with public safety. Okay, I'm the guy who's going to support those kind of three things. And I'll always be there to stand up for our veterans, including being the one person who was trying to appoint a judge who was an actual serving member of our military, one of my former students. And I'm finding out today that I'm going to be endorsed by an actual veteran by this afternoon. One of my former students, Purple Heart Marine, Mr. Ruben De Silva, Assemblyman for 28.
So this concludes today's endorsement interviews. Once again, I'd like to recognize all of our sponsors: Mary Perry, Clark County District Court Family Division, Department P, Veterans in Politics International, Nevada Veterans Association, and our additional sponsoring partners.
Join us every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, live stream on Facebook.